All right, so everyone's buzzing about AI getting crazy smart, right? But this Chinese company, DeepSeek, is like throwing gasoline on the fire. There are new AI models. Some people are saying they're catching up to the US, which obviously has everyone kind of freaking out a bit. We're going to break it all down today, focusing on this article by Dario Amodei. He's the CEO of Anthropic, another big name in AI. And he's got some serious insights into what DeepSeek's achievements mean for the future of, well, everything, really.
Yeah, Amodei doesn't hold back. He's basically saying that DeepSeek's progress means the U.S. needs to keep a tight grip on those AI chips, the ones they're exporting to China.
Which sounds kind of counterintuitive, right? Like you'd think DeepSeek doing well means the U.S. should just give up, but that's what we're going to figure out, why he thinks DeepSeek is a reason to actually double down.
Not back off.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to the geopolitical drama, let's talk about how AI development actually works. Amodei lays out three key dynamics, and the first one is something he knows a little bit about, scaling laws.
Right, think of it this way. The more you pour into training AI, data processing power, the whole shebang, the better it gets. It's kind of like leveling up in a video game, except instead of your character getting stronger, the AI is getting smarter.
You're probably seeing it already in your own life, right? Like those AI image generators seem to get better every day.
Yeah, that's scaling laws at work,
Okay, so more resources, more brains.
basically.
But Amodei says it's not that simple. He talks about this thing called shifting the curve. What's that all about?
Well, as researchers get smarter, they come up with better ways to train AI, better algorithms, more efficient hardware.
You'd think that would make things cheaper, right?
Yeah, you'd think so. But instead of saving money, companies just spend more to make even more powerful AI.
So they're using the gains to just push further?
Exactly. It's this never-ending treadmill. Everyone's running faster and faster, but the finish line keeps moving.
And then Amodei adds another layer of complexity, shifting the paradigm.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting. It's not just about incremental improvements. It's about completely new approaches to AI training.
A whole new ballgame.
And right now, that new approach is reinforcement learning.
Or RL, for short.
It's basically taking AI that's already learned a ton, and then giving it this super intense training to boost its reasoning skills.
That's kind of like those recommendation algorithms that seem to know you better than you know yourself.
For self-driving cars navigating crazy traffic. That's RL in action.
So DeepSeek and the US companies are jumping on this RL train.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sounds like things are about to get really competitive.
Definitely.
But before we get into that head-to-head, let's break down what DeepSeek actually did with their two new models, DeepSeek V3 and R1. Starting with DeepSeek V3, their pre-trained model, they got pretty darn close to the performance of some top US models, and they did it spending less.
It definitely raised some eyebrows.
For sure.
They did some really clever engineering, though. They used techniques like managing the key value cache.
Value what now?
It's basically a super organized memory system for the AI. Lets it process information faster. They also used a mixture of experts.
Okay, this is starting to sound like a cooking show.
It's kind of like having different parts of the AI specialize. So one part might be great at language, another at image recognition.
So it's more efficient.
Much more.
So DeepSeek wasn't just throwing money at the problem, they were being strategic too.
Yeah, they were playing smart.
But Amodei points out some important caveats. He says DeepSeek's cost reduction wasn't a total game changer.
He's right, it was impressive. But also in line with expected gains over time. And even though they trained DeepSeek V3 more recently, it's still not as powerful as the top US models.
They're closing the gap, but not quite there yet.
Exactly.
Anything else to keep in mind about DeepSeek V3?
Yeah, their overall spending is still huge, comparable to the big US players, so they're definitely in the same league financially.
So DeepSeek is a serious contender.
Absolutely.
But not an overnight revolution.
Not yet, at least.
Okay, so a wake-up call, but not a total shakeup. What about their other model, R1? The one using this new reinforcement learning approach.
R1 is less about breaking new ground and more about showing DeepSeek can keep up.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Basically, they replicated what OpenAI already did with RL, showing they could achieve similar results.
So they're proving they're not falling behind in this new era.
Exactly.
But doesn't that mean everyone's kind of on equal footing right now?
For now, yeah. RL is still in its early stages, so lots of companies are getting similar results.
So it's like the calm before the storm?
Maybe. Amodei warns that this won't last. Once everyone starts pouring more resources into RL, things are going to get really intense.
This brings us to the heart of Amodei's argument about those export controls on AI chips to China. He says DeepSeek's progress actually makes them more important. Huh, wait a second. Explain yourself, Amodei.
All right, here's the logic. Amodei's worried about China getting their hands on millions of top-tier AI chips,
Why so?
because those chips will be the key to training the most powerful AI in the near future. We're talking like 2026, 2027.
So he's playing the long game here.
Big time.
He's saying DeepSeek's success and now W is a reason to be worried about what happens next XT?
Exactly. He lays out two possible futures, depending on whether those export controls stay in place. The first one is a bipolar world.
This is where both the US and China have super intelligent AI. I'm guessing that's not his favorite scenario.
It's a world with a lot of potential, but also a lot of risk.
Like what kind of risk?
Imagine massive breakthroughs, medicine technology, all sorts of fields.
That actually sounds amazing.
It could be. But the problem is, this kind of rapid advancement could lead to an AI arms race. Both sides trying to outdo each other, pushing the boundaries, and maybe even weaponizing AI.
So in that scenario, AI becomes less about progress and more about power.
Yeah, and in a world where China might be less concerned about ethics, it's a pretty scary thought.
Definitely a cause for concern. So that's the bipolar world, kind of a mix of amazing progress and terrifying possibilities.
Yeah, a real tightrope walk.
What's the other scenario Amodei talks about?
He calls it a unipolar world, where the US and its allies are the only ones with super intelligent AI.
So at first glance, that sounds way safer, right? No AI arms race, no authoritarian regime with all the power.
There are definitely some big pluses. Imagine using that AI advantage to tackle climate change, develop crazy new medical treatments, maybe even solve world hunger.
Okay, yeah, that does sound pretty amazing.
That's a powerful vision, a chance to really build a better future.
But I'm guessing there's a catch, like doesn't absolute power corrupt and all that?
It's a valid concern, for sure. Without any real competition, would the U.S. be tempted to use its AI dominance for less noble purposes?
Yes, like would they become complacent?
Arrogant, even.
It's easy to imagine things going sideways.
It's definitely not a guaranteed happy ending.
So even in a unipolar world where we're the ones holding the reins, there are still ethical landmines to watch out for.
There are no easy answers here.
It's not just good guys versus bad guys.
Not even close.
And that's why Amodei says we need to have these conversations NWA before it's too late.
Exactly. We need to be thinking critically about the consequences.
Not just the cool stuff AI can do, but the potential downsides too.
The political and social ramifications.
This isn't just some abstract thought experiment either.
It's about the future we're building.
The world our kids are going to inherit.
And it's not just up to the experts to figure this out.
This is something we all need to be engaged in.
Amodei's really adamant about that.
So back to DeepSeek for a second. They managed to do some pretty impressive stuff, even with those export controls in place. Does that mean the controls are failing?
Not necessarily. Amodei points out that DeepSeek did have access to a significant number of chips.
So the controls are having some effect.
Yeah, they're definitely not getting unlimited access. And remember, Amodei's worried about China getting millions of top-tier chips.
Not just the thousands DeepSeek probably had.
That's the scale they need to really dominate the next phase of AI development.
So it's like we're playing keep away with these chips.
In a way, yeah.
Trying to slow them down.
Buy some time.
But let's be real. Those export controls are just a temporary fix, right? Technology keeps advancing.
That's true.
It's only a matter of time before China develops its own chips.
You're absolutely right. The export controls are buying us time. But they're not a permanent solution.
So what's the long-term plan?
Amodei argues for a more comprehensive strategy.
Like what?
Investing heavily in AI safety research. Fostering international collaboration on AI ethics.
So it's about more than just restricting hardware.
It's about shaping the entire landscape of AI development, making sure it's aligned with our values.
And hopefully preventing that bipolar world scenario.
Where things could get really messy really fast.
So it's not just about winning the race, it's about making sure everyone crosses the finish line safely.
Exactly. Recognizing that superintelligent AI is a global challenge.
Not just a national one.
And it needs a global response.
Man, this is heavy stuff. Kind of makes me wish I was back doing my podcast about celebrity gossip.
I get it. It can feel overwhelming.
But you're right, this does impact all of us.
It really does.
Even if we're not AI experts or politicians.
It's about the future of humanity.
Okay, you've convinced me. Officially freaked out, but also kind of fascinated. So what can regular people like me actually do to make sure we don't sleepwalk into some AI apocalypse?
That's the million-dollar question. And one we'll dive into in part 3 of this deep dive.
Ooh, cliffhanger. Stay tuned, folks. All right, welcome back. We've been on this crazy journey exploring DeepSeek, this Chinese AI company that's shaken things up, and talking about what it all means for the future of AI. But before we get too lost in the existential dread, let's talk about what we can actually do about all of this. You promised some actionable advice last time, so
Ah.
lay it on us.
All right, no more doom and gloom. Let's empower ourselves. First things first, we got to ditch the "this is too complex for me" attitude. We need to get informed.
Yeah, no more burying our heads in the sand.
Exactly. The more you understand about AI, the better equipped you'll be to navigate this crazy world.
Okay, so no more hiding from the scary headlines. But where do we even start?
Honestly, you're already doing it. Listening to this deep dive is a great first step. There's tons of stuff out there. Articles, podcasts, even documentaries.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those AI documentaries.
And don't be afraid to get a little technical. The more you grasp the basics of how AI works, the better you can judge the hype from the reality.
It's like learning a new language.
Kinda.
The more fluent you are, the more you can participate in the conversation.
Exactly.
But it's not just about absorbing information, it's about thinking critically about it too.
Absolutely. Don't just take everything at face value. Question assumptions. Consider different perspectives, especially when it comes to the ethical implications.
So we need to be having those tough conversations.
Not shying away from them.
So it's not enough to just know what AI is. We need to figure out what we want it to be, how we want to live alongside it.
It's about personal values and collective action.
So it's a personal journey and a societal one.
Exactly. And don't underestimate your own power.
What do you mean?
Contact your elected officials. Support organizations promoting responsible AI. Even think about your consumer choices.
So like who we buy stuff from.
Yeah, are you supporting companies that are prioritizing ethical AI development?
Okay, so it's not just about understanding the tech, it's about making choices that reflect our values, taking responsibility for the future we're creating.
And that responsibility can feel heavy, but it's also incredibly empowering. We're not just passive bystanders in this AI revolution.
We're active participants.
Our voices matter, our choices matter, our actions, even small ones, can make a difference.
I'm feeling a lot less helpless now, and a lot more fired up. So we've covered staying informed, thinking critically, and taking action. Anything else we should keep in mind?
I think one of the most important things is to stay curious. AI is evolving so rapidly. What's cutting edge today might be obsolete tomorrow.
Yeah, it's changing so fast.
So stay engaged, keep learning, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Like Amodei's point about reinforcement learning, the whole field is constantly shifting gears.
We need to stay flexible and adaptable too.
Speaking of Amodei, he left us with that thought-provoking question about who gets to superintelligent AI first, and whether it's even possible to ensure it benefits everyone.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Mm.
Is it inevitable that whoever cracks the code first has an unbeatable advantage? Or can we find a way to steer AI development towards a future where everyone benefits, regardless of who gets there first?
That's what I love about these deep dives. They leave us with more questions than answers, but they also give us the knowledge and the motivation to keep searching.
And that's the key. Keep the conversation going. Keep pushing for transparency and accountability. Keep demanding that AI serves humanity, not just a select few.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with a challenge. Don't let this conversation end here. Keep learning, keep questioning, keep pushing for a future where AI empowers us all.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious and stay engaged.